The top stories: the first African Defense Ministers Conference on Regional Peace and Security kicks off at the Adwa Memorial Museum in Addis Ababa. And the Executive Secretary of the UNECA speaks about the critical considerations for navigating migration in Africa. This is ABC World. Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to the news with Mish Faraulaka, and thank you for watching us. Now, the office of the Prime Minister indicated that urban farming is gaining momentum in Ethiopia. The PM office stated that urban farming is gaining momentum in Ethiopia, transforming backyards and unused spaces into green areas that boost food security, sustainability, and economic growth in cities like Addis Ababa. The office also encouraged others to engage in such activities by teaming up with neighbors. On a social media post, the office underlined if one wants to get started, try using containers or raised beds and team up with neighbors to share tools, knowledge, and seeds. Together, one can grow fresh food and build a stronger community. The first African Defense Ministers Conference on Regional Peace and Security Issues began today at the Adwa Memorial Museum in Addis Ababa. The conference, running for the next 3 days, is themed Africa, United in Peace, Strong in Security. The conference is expected to discuss the importance of strengthening existing partnerships to combat terrorism, address global and regional security threats, and outline directions for future cooperation. Speaking on the occasion, Deputy Prime Minister Tamaskan Taruna said Africa must engage with the world on its own terms, ensuring that its interests are represented and respected on a global stage. He mentioned the situation of Africa that is currently facing security challenges, adding that this moment reaffirms a principle that has guided the continent for decades: African solutions to African problems. The idea that is not just a slogan but also imperative. According to Deputy Prime Minister, the conference will pave the way for consultations on matters that will ensure the security of the people, build a strong security system, and enable Africa to stand firm in the rapidly changing global environment. Meanwhile, Ethiopia's Minister of Defense, Engineer Aisha Mohammed, said Ethiopia is honored to host this important forum where the guardians of Africa's security come together to deepen the bonds of cooperation. During the occasion, AU's official expressed deep gratitude to Ethiopia for hosting the event, which aims to address the continent's complex security challenges.
በርካታ ወንዞች ይገኛሉ ብሔራዊ ፓርካችን ውስጥ። ከነዚህም ለሀገሪቷ ኢኮኖሚ ሁሉ ትልቅ አስተዋጽኦ የሚያደርጉ ወደ
The
55
park
የሚደርሱ
is replete
ትላልቅና
with
መካከለኛ
rivers.
ወንዞችና ጅረቶች
55 of Ethiopia's rivers and streams with significant contribution to the nation's development flow from the high grounds of the park all the way to the Omo River. As you very well know, the new Kosha hydroelectric project located in the southwest of the country is the second of a cascade of dams next to the GERD. With an installed capacity of 2,200 megawatt, the dam is another blessing originating from this park. As far as waterfalls formed in the upper states of rivers, we have no less than 10 falls in and around the park.
ውስጥና አካባቢ ይገኛሉ።
መሳይ በርከት ያሉ ፏፏቴዎች
Zigna River, several lakes, waterfalls like the Barbo and others including a hot spring from hydrological features are in the park. This has necessitated the installation of facilities for water tourism. Tourists are provided with efficient means of transport along these hydrological features.
And now moving to stories selected for detailed analysis. A forum focused on the One Health approach is underway in Addis Ababa, bringing together stakeholders from across Eastern and Southern Africa. This initiative, which recognizes the interconnectedness of human, animal, and environmental health, is gaining momentum as a crucial strategy to tackle global health challenges. Johannes Fantan reports.
In Southern Africa is underway in Addis Ababa. The One Health approach, which recognizes the interconnectivity of human, animal, and environmental health, is gaining traction as a vital tool to tackle global health challenges. This forum, part of the multi-phase project, involves several countries including Ethiopia, Burundi, Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda, Kenya, Sao Tome and Principe, and also Eastern, Central and Southern Africa Health Community and IGAD. Discussion center around the critical role of One Health in tackling issues like infectious disease outbreaks and environmental pollution. The framework emphasizes a holistic approach requiring cooperation between various sectors and across borders.
We're aware that 60 to 70% of disease outbreaks come from zoonotic diseases. However, it's important to ask how many experts from the vet sector, environmental sector, climate scientists and food systems specialists are involved in our health emergency preparedness training and detection and response. One Health's integrated approach in addressing health threats originating at the animal-human environment interface. It's crucial for strengthening health emergency preparedness response and resilience.
A proposed One Health framework will guide participating countries in coordinating policies and knowledge sharing, aiming to prevent and respond effectively to health risks. The forum aims to produce a draft roadmap and recommendations for implementing this framework in member countries with a focus on identifying regional, national and cross-border approaches, priorities and strategies. This will ultimately lead to more coordinated and comprehensive approach to improve health outcomes across the region.
It's not just zoonotic diseases that Africa is dealing with. We have the issue of AMR. And maybe to quantify what AMR, the burden of AMR is, it's not just something people talk about at UNGA. Every year, AMR is killing more Africans than TB, HIV, and malaria put together. So it's not just something we are talking about as a faceless sort of threat. But we are also facing the issues of climate change. I think there are countries that right now we are seeing increase in certain diseases. We are seeing the impact in terms of humanitarian and disaster. And we also have issues around food safety and food security. So it goes without saying that for a continent with a lot of LMICs, we just don't have enough resources. So this is where the One Health principle really comes into place. How can we work together to leverage the expertise, the resources, be it laboratory infrastructure, be it our field epidemiologists, be it our researchers? How can we leverage those opportunities to work together?
Today, we gather with a shared vision and a commitment to advancing the health and the well-being of our communities through an integrated approach that recognizes the interconnectedness of human, animal, and environmental health. By working together, we can address the complex health challenges that transcend borders and sectors.
The forum signifies a significant step towards building a more resilient and interconnected health system in East and Southern Africa.
Moving on, rural women play a crucial role in transforming the agricultural sector in Africa. This remark was made during the celebration of International Day of Rural Women, themed empowering women living in rural areas through education and access to technology, bridging the gap for inclusive agri-food system in Addis Ababa. Shagamata has more on that.
The International Day of Rural Women was established by the UN General Assembly in December 2007 to recognize the critical role and contribution of rural women in enhancing agricultural and rural development and food security. The African Union Commission hosted the International Day of Rural Women under the theme Empowering Women through Education and Access to Technology, bridging the gap for inclusive agri-food system in Africa at the African Union Hall in Addis Ababa. In her opening remarks, Minister of Women and Social Affairs, Sergogia Tesfaye, commended the role of Ethiopian rural women for sustainable agro-economic development. She also compounded the significance of equipping women in education, technology, and inclusive agricultural system for the transformation of agro-economy.
The government has also recognized the significant role of women in agriculture and implementing programs to ensure that women have equal access to resources such as land, agricultural extension services, credits through microfinance institutions, and access to markets through engaging them in agricultural value chains. Women's-only agricultural cooperatives also providing women in the opportunity to enhance their livelihood while also enhancing their leadership capabilities. There are also efforts to expand access to services including education, health, social protection, water and sanitation, roads and infrastructures to minimize the burden of rural women and improve their lives.
Commissioner for the Agriculture and Rural Development at the African Union Commission, Josefa Leonel Sako, for her part reiterated women's contributions and achievements in the agri-food system despite facing man-made and natural calamities. She also underscored the importance of education to empower women participation in the agriculture sector, adding she expounded tremendous efforts made by the African Union Commission as well as other continental and international partners.
Education opens doors to new opportunities, enable women to participate in decision-making processes and to advocate for their own rights. Ladies and gentlemen, bridging the gap for inclusive and sustainable agri-food system is critical. To build inclusive and sustainable agri-food system, we must address the barriers that prevent rural women from fully participating in and benefiting from this system. This requires targeted policy and program that promotes gender equality, support women's access to land and financial services, and provide training in sustainable agricultural practices.
Women representative from the Sidama region of Ethiopia, Tayesh Branu, for her part, commended efforts made by the Ethiopian government to ensure gender equality financially despite limited access to land ownership and education, among others. She called on all stakeholders to maximize their support to ensure women equality financially.
We rather need our chances to produce, to receive necessary inputs and agricultural farming land And if we get what we need, this gives us the means to change our country, Africa, and the world, and we know we are able to do that and to change the world. So we demand our Ethiopian government, as well as the African Union and African governments, to give emphasis to this, and I sincerely...
The platform brought together African Union representatives, EU member states, civil society organizations, and other continental and international development partners to recognize women's achievements and put solutions on challenges facing rural women for the development of Africa.
Now, migration is a complex issue with both challenges and opportunities. In Africa, the movement of people across borders is increasing, prompting important conversations about how to manage this phenomenon for the benefit of all. Our staff reporter, Johannes van Town, spoke with Clever Gatete, the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, UNECA, about the critical considerations for navigating this complex issue. Have a listen to this.
Migration, the movement of people from one place to another, is a complex global phenomenon driven by a multitude of factors including economic opportunity, political instability, conflict, climate change, and family reunification. It can be a powerful engine for development, contributing to economic growth, cultural exchange, and innovation, but it also presents challenges such as social integration, labor market competition, and the potential for exploitation. Understanding the diverse motivations and experiences of migrants, as well as the need for both origin and destination countries, is crucial to ensuring that migration benefits individuals, communities, and nations alike. The benefits of migration, particularly for recipient countries, are undeniable. Mr. Clever Gatete emphasizes the economic contributions migrants make, contributing to growth and development.
The first big challenge is really understanding that this issue of migration is very important for development of the African continent, if I may want to take it that way. The people with skills should be allowed to move from one country to another. And these are the people who are highly qualified, but we've had so many challenges that are affecting them.
However, challenges remain. Migrants often face difficulties with nationalization and uncertainty about their long-term future in their host countries, the Executive Secretary underscored.
One of them is the issue of nationalization, where each country prefers their own citizens, and yet these are the people with skills who can be allowed for their own qualifications to be recognized so that they can be able to work in those countries and be provided with work permits. These one complement what is going on at the national level. If you get more skills of qualified people, for example, coming to Ethiopia, they complement also the skills that are here, which is very, very important. Secondly, there has been a barrier and also the fear that if you have been working in another country for so many years, you've been contributing to the pension. You have your health insurance and other benefits. And these ones really can be able to be allowed so that you can be able to get those kind of benefits, even if we moved from one country to another.
Mr. Clever Gatete stresses the need to address the root causes of migration. This includes tackling poverty, lack of opportunities, and conflict in the countries of origin.
We need to understand what is causing the migration. Is it the goodwill of the individuals who are moving around, or is it other factors such as climate? So that in that country where they are coming from, which also needs development, we need to address those kind of issues. If it is climate related, we need to address them. If there are other factors, poverty, policies, we need to address them, because we need every country in Africa to continue developing.
He also highlights the potential of migration within Africa to fuel the success of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA.
The Continental Free Trade Area is going to have an impact, and in order to implement that, is for me to be allowed to move from one country to another, to another, to another, and not only to trade, but also to work. So that's why it becomes very, very important for us to understand the impact of this development process. And this way, it will also be useful, especially on the African continent, to actually reverse the outside migration that is going to Europe, it's going to Gulf, it's going to North America. Once they see the opportunities here, these skills which are really going outside the continent could actually be reversed and stay on the continent, moving from one country to another, to another, to another, much easier. And this is what we want because it contributes to overall development of the African continent and provide the benefits.
The Executive Secretary concludes by emphasizing that a balanced approach is key to addressing the complexities of migration. This requires a holistic understanding of the needs and challenges of migrants, their origin countries, and recipient countries.
And finally, in business, Ethiopian Airlines has announced the launch of a new daily flight route to Port Sudan. Ethiopian Airlines Group CEO Mesfin Tasso said the launch of daily passenger flight to Port Sudan marks the airline's 62nd destination in Africa, underscoring its commitment to expanding its extensive network on the continent. The new flight will connect the Sudanese people and Port Sudan with Ethiopia and the rest of the world and contribute to the economic development of Port Sudan and promote people-to-people ties, trade, tourism, and diplomacy, he said. According to Ethiopian Airlines, the new route will provide seamless travel options for passengers and traveling between Ethiopia and Sudan, as well as connecting travelers from across the vast Ethiopian Airlines network to this significant Red Sea port city. The introduction of this service underscores Ethiopia's dedication to serving the evolving needs of the African market, contributing to the continent's economic development. Well, dear viewers, you have been watching EBC World. Now a quick recap of the top stories. The first African Defense Ministers Conference on Regional Peace and Security kicks off at the Adwa Memorial Museum in Addis Ababa. And the Executive Secretary